Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hypnosis Hero, the show where we talk to hypnotists from all over the world. We bring them right into your living room, onto your phone, your laptop, whatever, and we give you the opportunity to get hypnotized through the screen. That's right. You watch this show, and soon you'll be experiencing hypnosis. So, for right now, you don't need to worry about that, but later on, you still don't have to worry about it, but later on when the hypnosis start, I will ask you to pull over if you're driving, put down any sharp objects, sit down, lie down, relax, or just sit up and watch because we're going to do some fun stuff with hypnosis tonight. We got a stage hypnotist on. Super excited to bring him on. But first, as always, we're going to bring on Brian B-Dog Bay. Brian, how are you?
Doing all right. I am glad to be home.
Glad to be home.
Yeah, I definitely have missed everybody. Just I hate to start off the show on kind of a somber note, but Sunday, my father's been in the hospital for a number of weeks, and I got the phone call over the weekend from my brother to just, hey, it's time to get home fast. So I flew home Sunday morning. I got to spend some time with Dad. We brought him home from the hospital Monday, and I was very fortunate to be offered the opportunity to ride home with him, just to kind of give him some comfort and reassurance that we were going home, not to another medical facility or anything like that. And we got him home. We got him in bed, all of his, all the comforts of home. And he lasted about 4 hours after that. And if you guys know anybody who's in the medical industry, is a nurse, or more especially a hospice nurse, the guy that we had at the house, I could not have asked for a better person. I mean, just
Wow.
Truly a lovely human being. And with Dad's passing, he just slowly became hypoxic. Got that euphoric feeling, and he passed with just the absolute, the most peaceful way that I could have asked for, and with as much dignity as possible. So all things considered, I just could not ask for anything more out of that. He passed. They gave me the confirmation, formally pronounced him, and it was just like this weight lifted off my shoulders, and I just kind of had this feeling of, everything's going to be okay. And I've got my moments where I just kind of have learned to lean into this. And Jim, I really want to attribute a lot of this to you, just kind of in how I react and things like that. You just kind of take things in stride, and I'm taking this a lot better than I expected. Either that, or I am doing something probably just incredibly unhealthy, and the walls are going to come crashing down here in the future. But no, I have some time where just go about my day, and think of Dad, get a little teary eyed, wipe my eyes, and then just get back on with things. So all in all, it's good to be back, good to be in my own bed. And Sammy, my friend's drug dog here, has been just absolutely Velcro to me. So if you hear him just roar, 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 that's why. So, but all in all, life's good, man.
We should point out that the drug dog is actually a police drug dog. It's,
yes, retired.
So people get the wrong idea here. Thank you, Paulette, for jumping in there. We're always happy to have you on the show.
Drug dog, that's a different type of emotional support.
Brian,
yeah, go ahead.
I think it's interesting. You talk about this. You're not sure if you're just, basically you're not sure if you're just stuffing your feelings, or if you're just processing it, in a healthy way. Because when my mom passed away, I remember I was dating this woman at the time, and she actually, one of the reasons that we broke up was because she didn't feel like I had shared enough of my emotions with her about the loss. And I was like, I don't know what to share. I mean, I'm sad, but it's not, I don't know what to share. And so I kind of had the same feeling. It was like, am I doing something wrong? Am I?
And at first, like, my thought was with the ambulance ride is I wanted to be there for dad.
Yeah.
And it was, hey, let's keep him calm because, even though his voice was pretty raspy at the end after being intubated and whatnot, and just his limited strength, I mean, he had a sharp tongue, and it was more for the EMT's benefits, who again, they were awesome. But I think it was probably late Tuesday when we were just kind of sitting around my brother's patio at his house and just kind of, reminiscing and everything. It really hit me. I was like, that was the um, that was the ambulance ride home that I didn't know that I needed at the time. I think there I was able to hold his hand, and that's kind of where I got my closure. So we had to go jam back to the hospital real fast after taking care of a couple things at home to pick up my rental car, and my brother kind of kicked me off at the curb, and he was probably 5 or 6 minutes ahead of me, so he made it back to the house, and I was actually pulling into the driveway parking when dad went. And I walked inside, and the hospice nurse, he goes, I believe your dad has passed. And I kind of cocked my head a little bit, and he goes, dude, it was like a minute ago, like not even 45 seconds maybe. And that's when he said, let's go formally examine him and confirm. And I think at that point, that was where, um, my stepmom and my brother were in the room, and
Mhm.
they were just kind of huddled together. I mean, it's like, my stepmom was the love of my dad's life, and the way that my brother described it is, he took a couple of deep, solid breaths, and then he looked over at at the two of them and just kind of looked into my stepmom's eyes and took another couple of shallow breaths, and that was, you know, God just, power off. And there was no frantic, anything like that. It was just he stared off into the distance, and being able to, when we were, confirming everything, my brother kind of drifts out into the hallway from the bedroom, and my stepmom drifts into the bathroom, or the master bathroom. And you know, the thought kind of popped into my head. I'm kind of like, thanks, guys, I get to do this all alone. But there
Yeah.
there was an inherent closure in that. And so we confirmed, and I walk into the bathroom. My stepmom just, she's got that look of just absolute, like, it's like a combination of like puppy dog eyes, and just, I'm about to, she knows I'm about to just drop this like nuclear emotional warhead on her. And she goes, please don't tell me that he's confirmed. And I'm kind of like, I don't know what else to say other than, okay, I won't, but Elvis has left the building. And just,
Yeah.
but it was, I think we've talked about this in the past, and I was thinking about it on the flight home. Uh, so a lady who, my dad lived on a corner lot, and the neighbor across the street from the side was there when we moved in 41 years ago. And she, her name's Laura. She was one of the neighbors who taught me how to swim. And I went back over after dad had passed to let them know, and it was like there were no words that needed to be spoken, big hugs. And I was like, hey, my stepmom needs you right now. And so we're walking down her driveway, back across the street, and right before we cross, Laura reaches down, grabs my hand, and dude, I tell you what, I went back in time. I
Mhm.
became 4 years old again. She's walking me back across the street from a swimming lesson.
Yeah.
And it was just, like I said, as much as it sucked, it was like just a lot of memories and just good experiences. But I was also reminded, like, why I moved out of California. When they get rain, they get like flash floods all over the place. And Mission Beach was underwater. And then the next day it was, when he was, oh, so here's another just quick anecdote. So it's raining outside. We're taking Dad from the hospital to the ambulance, and like rains on his face and everything. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna wipe him off. So we get to the house, we back the ambulance in the driveway, and they're like, okay, we're gonna put a blanket over your dad's head just to cover his face. I'm like, Pop, we're gonna cover you up. This is not the pillow, all right? And so we're wheeling him into the house as my brother turns the corner and then flips a U-turn so we can parallel park in front of the house. I can only imagine there's my brother sees me and the two EMTs with a blanket covering the entire, white blanket covering the entire gurney. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm hold like a thumbs up, like, Dad's okay. We're not bringing a lifeless body into the house. So, we kind of shared a little bit of a chuckle, but I think there was a lot of, they talk about, when you have loss, that there's, times where you just need to kind of say like just some inappropriate stuff. Like we'd run to the store, pick up some baby wipes, and so she could clean up my dad every day, and so we're cutting the bracelets off and cleaning stuff up, and my stepmom was just kind of giving him a last hug and kiss on the forehead, and we all did, and I just picked up the box of wipes, and I just look at her and I went, God, I feel like a prick. And she goes, why? And I go, I didn't bother to get a receipt for these. They're not going to let me return this. And she just falls out laughing. And she was like, yeah, I totally needed that right now. I'm like, I could care less about the money. You'll find something to clean up with. And I really don't care. So it was, a lot of good laughs. And, it's like 1 minute we're laughing, and then the next minute we're crying, and then laughing and crying. And you would have thought we needed some, acute bipolar medicine or something, but it was, it was all in all, I needed to be there, and I'm glad I went.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm glad to be home, getting back to a little sense of normalcy. Cause so far 2024 has just been a blur of everything jammed together.
Yeah.
Kind of like you guys planning your event in Las Vegas next weekend, only a lot different.
No kidding.
Maybe equally as painful, but
excited about that. And speaking of that, we're going to bring on Shawn Kostiuk, who is really the right hand man with that operation, as he is in so many operations. Let's bring him in. Shawn Kostiuk, good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Brian, condolences from me for sure.
No, thank you, man. Like I've, my kind of like I call it my Masonic family up here is makes up a lot of my friends, and I'm telling you, I think I sent one or two text messages, and that evening it was just text message, phone call, hey, how are you doing? People checking in. Just the outpouring of love and support was just tremendous, and I'm reminded that I've really got some awesome friends, Jim included.
Yeah.
But how are you guys thawing out a little bit, or are you still in the deep freeze?
No, we are actually thawing out. It's been above zero quite a bit, actually. So, and when I fly to Vegas next week, it'll be in like plus 10 range, which 10 above zero for us is probably about the low 40s for you guys.
And then Vegas will be much warmer.
I'm assuming I'll be able to at least run around without a shirt on.
I was gonna say you're gonna run around like a Speedo and everything just because you're not gonna have a chance to acclimate. But
I don't do Speedos because I don't give away the goods.
Not since the
incident. and it's not cold enough to hide the goods.
I'm Canadian. I'm Canadian, not European.
Yeah.
But actually, Shawn had a loss this week as well.
Yeah, sorry about that, Shawn. That would be my last grandparent. My grandmother passed on Saturday morning. Yeah, it's everything that you said, Brian. It definitely applies. You appreciate the time that you had with them. In fact, my oldest son flew to Iowa in November, I said to them at that point, I said, okay, the family's getting together. Great grandma's going to be there. You guys, this might be the last time you actually see her alive. So my boys got to play guitar for her and the family, and they had just a decent time, and that was it. So when they took her off to Edmonton to get acclimated to her new place, she fell, and they went into repair and found out it was cancer, and said, "There's nothing we can do. It's already metastasized." So, you take that with a grain of salt. It runs in the family. So,
but yeah, I mean, I think going down and seeing Dad, really just reaffirmed, like, and a friend of mine who lost his dad about a month ago. I think he said it just so beautiful and so eloquently, but so simple. He said, the body is trying to live because that's what it's supposed to do.
Yep.
But the soul is ready to move on to that next chapter. And, I mean, as much as I say it, I'm like, God, my dad was stubborn.
Yep.
And, honestly, I think if I were to be able to, cross over to the other side and ask him, he would be like, yeah, dude, I was ready to go like a week and a half ago. But he stayed in the fight until he knew he was home. He had his cats, wife was there, and he's kind of like, all right, my terms, and it, I put a post up on the private page of our Masonic Lodge, and I won't repeat what was said because I will just absolutely start bawling like a baby, and we don't need that. But it was, like I said, we couldn't have asked for anything more, and it's kind of cheers to, he didn't want a bunch of fanfare, so it was like, oh, services and celebration of life, and he's like, no, we didn't want that, and I was like, all right, fine. The little lawyer in me is going, we're gonna have a barbecue where we are honoring his legacy. We're not celebrating his life, and I think he would appreciate that. So
yeah.
But
absolutely, yeah, we'll have our memorial service when it really does warm up in March or April. So,
I was going to say they're probably not doing a whole lot of cemetery stuff because the ground's frozen.
No, the ground is still sub-zero for sure.
Yeah,
and not just in height, temperature as well.
Right.
Yeah, that's the nature of the province. So typically we don't get to do much in basically by the end of October. If you're not going in until next year. So
yeah,
it is what it is. And you were talking about processing, and I'll just leave this with everybody. Everybody processes differently, and I go back to, oddly enough, Jim asked me about my Starfleet uniform today. I go back to what Admiral Kirk said. How we deal with death is at least as important as how we deal with life.
Yeah. And I think, and I Jim asked me before we came on, he's like, do you not want to talk about it? I'm like, well, I mean, I hate to have our first broadcast back in a hot minute, kind of start out with a whole bunch of doom and gloom. So, definitely trying to put a positive spin on it. And I think there's a learning experience or learning opportunity here for, people with, I mean, I could have sat here and just been like, oh God, Dad's gone. What am I going to do? Who's my, and I'm like, dude, I've had 42 years of my life for him to impart wisdom. Like if if the training wheels come off right now, like it's, this is going to be okay. Like you find yourself saying all the different things that Dad used to say. And the best way you can honor him is to, do great things. So
absolutely.
With that being said, Jim, let's, we've kept everybody in suspense. We've got a guest who's been just lovely being patient, and it's time for you to introduce him.
Yes, indeed. And you did mention something. I do want to apologize, everybody. We got off track with the broadcast. I know you missed the hypnosis. The holidays kind of threw us for a loop, and So, we had a lot of stuff going on. You probably did too. So you probably were grateful for the time off, but we are committed. We've already got some guests lined up for the next month. So we will be here second and fourth Thursday of most every month. All right. So with that, I want to welcome somebody I'm really excited to meet. I've never met him before. He's a good friend of yours, Shawn, or you just know acquaintances?
Yeah, we're acquaintances. He is a fellow Saskatchewanian.
Awesome.
Also, which means he's also a fellow Canadian.
That's okay. I won't hold it against him. And so I've just never blamed your people for the pineapple pizza, as you know. With that, we're going to bring him on. He's been doing hypnosis shows since 2007 in markets all across Western Washington. He's also the author of Mastering Stage Hypnosis. Please give a big round of applause for Mr. Jesse Lewis. Hello, Jesse.
Jesse, welcome.
Thank you, Brian. I'm sorry. We'll leave it at that.
No, I appreciate it. Like I said, it's
my mom passed about 5 years ago. I know exactly how it is. So
yeah, I don't think that you ever get over losing a parent. This is my first time, so I have at least one biological parent left, and credit to my mom. I actually drove up and about 20 minutes away and delivered the news in person, and obviously shocked, and but she took it quite well, all things considered. You never get over it. You probably just end up learning to live with it, I think, is the best way.
that's pretty much how it's been. Yeah.
But
I got to tell you, Jesse, I'm surprised that you're in Saskatchewan, because when you came on and I saw your background, I thought that looks like some kind of a tiki hut or something.
I was thinking like Southwest, like Arizona or New Mexico or something.
Like that.
I am in one of the most northern deserts there is, if that helps. Where I live, it's technically a desert. So
and by the decor, in complete denial that it's
right, exactly.
Obvious amounts of snow on the ground.
My old lady has tropical plants all through the other room. It's ridiculous. There's a wall of them 6 feet tall and big bay window to keep them alive in the wintertime. So
as long as they're not recreational plants that grow several feet tall.
Those are over there.
Yeah.
We're legally allowed to have 4 in Canada in our home. So those do exist.
I think we're allowed some too now. I don't know how many. But
Washington State has decriminalized pretty much everything for personal use.
Exactly. Yeah. They're tightening things down a bit, I hope, again. We've had a lot of God. It's funny. What I've noticed, not funny, it's actually sad. You go to so many stores now around here, and I don't know what it's like in the rest of America, or in Canada, but you go around and you see so many pieces of plywood covering doors, windows, where somebody has smashed them in. It's nuts.
Oh yeah. It's, and you hear even Portland, Oregon, and, a lot of your inner city stuff like downtown Seattle, they've got businesses closing up left and right just simply because they're like, our business, we have some shrinkage and some allowance for loss with our operating budget and everything, but we just can't keep up. People are just walking out with big screen TVs and just armloads of clothes and purses and everything, smash and grabs, and they're like, we can't get insured. Everything just is becoming cost prohibitive, and the employees don't feel safe. No customers buying stuff, no inventory to have, not worth it.
So Jesse, tell me, so you've been doing this since 2007. How did you get started?
So this is controversial, but my first coach was Jeff Ronning. I think Jim.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know Jeff, right?
You know what? I came along after. I think I got started probably a couple years later after you. And I don't think he was still doing it at that time, or I didn't know about him at the time.
Okay. Yeah. I basically read his book, Mastering Stage Hypnosis, I think it was called, or something like that. And I went to 30 bars and one of them booked, and
wow,
I was an entertainer.
That's awesome.
So that's basically my story. There's more to it, of course, but after that first show, I was hooked. And 6 months later, I quit my job, and it's been pretty much full time ever since, except through COVID. So yeah.
Jesse, I gotta say, I love to hear that, because there's so many people out there that they'll do a course or read a book and they still can't get that first show. But it just shows, if you show up enough times, you go to enough places, make enough phone calls, enough emails, eventually somebody's going to say yes.
Well, Jeff, his big thing in his training was when one bar says no, you say next, and you walk across the street and you book the next bar down the street.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. And I got it in my head that I was going to book a show, period. Somebody was going to give me a try. And the important thing about that I find that a lot of trainers aren't telling these days is that no matter the show, whether it's your first one or not, charge for it. Because if you don't charge for it, then you're worth nothing. But if you charge for it, you're at least worth something. And this was 17 years ago and it was $150. So whoop-de-doo, $150, but I still got paid. Right? It was good for my self-worth more than anything else.
Sure. And you know what? I know Carol Burgett looks like she was watching also. She's another one. She went and took, Tommy V training. And I mean, at least within a month, maybe 2 weeks, she had a show. Mm-hmm. And she's been going steady ever since, and that's.
I'm laughing at that because she actually just messaged me. I've got my laptop in front of me and then my two desktop screens. And she just messaged me, and I was like, hey, you're going to be in Vegas. And I'm like, I was just commenting. I'm like, I've been seeing your posts. Like you're gaining some traction. And I am super excited for her. It's amazing.
Yeah. Jesse, so you just read a book. That was it. So had you been to hypnosis shows?
I had been hypnotized when I was 13 years old in the bar. I had snuck in.
The bar?
I had the full beard still at the time. So I had snuck in. I got hypnotized at Greenwater Lake Provincial Park at the bar there. And after that, actually, Wayne Lee hypnotized me in high school.
Oh, love Wayne.
Yeah, Wayne is fantastic. He probably still hates me for my answers to the question, what I want to be when I grow up, in a high school show. I said a porn star.
What teenage boy doesn't want that? Come on.
It's his own fault for asking, right?
I mean, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I made it big in the entertainment industry," and they're thinking, "Oh, you make a lot of money." No, I just made it big, and everybody who has a 12-year-old sense of humor is giggling right now.
Right.
But what do you do, right? So yeah, basically, I was part of a couple of shows, and I said, "This is what I'm going to do," and it's what I've done. So
that is so awesome. I love that. What were you doing before that? What kind of stuff had you been doing?
So actually, I was doing a manual labor job. Up here, we have huge pig barns with like 18,000 pigs in them, and that many pigs poop a lot. So I was actually managing a crew of 21 guys, 24 hours a day, getting rid of the poop. Now, that's not a fun job.
Politician mix.
Yes. But it was fertilizer, right? It goes on the corn and the oats and everything else, and it's disgusting, but it's needed too, right?
True.
So I wasn't a big professional or anything. I was pretty much the lowest man in the world as far as
you were just above the lowest man in the world because you were the boss, right?
Well, yeah, pretty much. But so we all started somewhere.
You'd never been an entertainer. You'd never been a hypnotist, and you read a book and said, "I'm doing it." That's awesome.
That's it. And I was 22 years old, so I was still young and dumb and all those things, right? So sometimes us old farts, as we grow older, we need to realize, hey, we can be just as stupid as we used to be and go and try things, because that's the only way to success.
What a great way of saying it. Just be stupid and do it, because it's all those. And you know what? We had Wendy Friesen on before. What a wonderful guest she was, and she was kind of the same thing. Is
Wendy the Hawaii?
Yeah, Hawaii. She's
Oh God, yeah. She was
back in Colorado now. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That was. I think that was definitely a fun show.
Yeah, and she was like that too. It's like she just was like. Didn't know enough to not go for it. I mean, and so tells a great story of just calling up. She knew she wanted to get on the radio. She says, "I'm going to call some radio stations." She actually got going on a show. The first call she made. So it's awesome.
I want to talk to you about that actually. My very first time ever doing hypnosis was on the largest radio station in the province on Boxing Day.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was the very first time I ever did hypnosis. So I booked that bar show and I put out press releases to every radio station I could find, and they booked me on Boxing Day, and my show was the following day on the 27th. So the very first time I ever hypnotized anybody, it was on provincial radio, which here it's huge. John Gormley Live was the show I was at. It was massive.
Dude.
Here, anyway.
All right, he's got me beat. I was like, the first time I hypnotized somebody, I filmed a training DVD in downtown Seattle with Jim, and but I when I say I kind of tripped, stumbled, and fell into it, kind of like what you did, like it, if it wasn't for Jim, and this is kind of like in a networking event. I'm gonna tangent here real fast. Is Jim, you're the epitome of, or a perfect example of, if you're in a networking event, go out and meet somebody and ask, how can I help you? Because Jim, it wasn't for you. Like, I mean, I was selling insurance and, trying to launch a screen printing business. And you were like, hey, can you make me a couple of t-shirts? I'm going to do street hypnosis, and make yourself one. I'll teach you. You can come with me. I'm kind of like, oh, okay. But Janaea had an awesome question. If we need to pin that.
No, that's good. So if Brian or Shawn, if you can keep track of those, what I'm trying to do these days is try to focus on the guests, because I get distracted and everything. So if you guys want to focus on those, that's awesome. So what's Janaea say?
She's asking what each of our experiences with being hypnotized, and then how does it feel for your each of our personalities?
Jesse.
Truth be told, it feels absolutely no different than I feel right now. It's literally exactly the same. For me, I've really only done stage. I've never done therapy to a mass extent. And it's a state where you're fully aware. You just don't care, and you follow the hypnotist directions. And that's exactly what I did when I was hypnotized. And that's what my volunteers do. Yeah.
And I think with my I've only been hypnotized for the stage once by Sean Michael Andrews, and he I had the same experience. It was like I was aware, I knew what was going on, but I just didn't care, and I didn't even think I was really that hypnotized until I almost cried because I didn't get the ice cream cone. I swear I was so pissed at myself because I knew there was no real ice cream cone there. But emotionally, I felt like there was an ice cream cone that I was being deprived of. I'll tell you, with hypnotherapy, I have a variety of experiences. There's sometimes when I just kind of feel like I'm just laying there listening, and then sometimes I'll wake up afterwards and go, "Whoa, that was deep." And I know we had Shawn Shawn Summers on, and he demonstrated the Esdale induction one time, and I did not want to come out of it. I was there and I was loving it. And I think that's what people feel when they quote, get stuck in hypnosis. No, they don't get stuck. They just like it so much. They don't want to come out, because that's where I was. I was like, screw you. I'm not coming back. This is awesome.
And then there's the part that absolutely scares you. Like that one dude, Bob, I believe, is the guy, I think from the
Bob Martin.
Northeast, where he's like, oh, Jim, your pineapple on pizza, the pineapple, the sweetness and the crunchiness of it. And then you're like, dude, my mouth, like, this sounds really good. Yeah. And he was like, back, like, no, stop. The line disconnected. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Bob is a master of conversational hypnosis. He will shred you to pieces, and you'll never ever know that he did.
Yeah. If I wasn't paying attention, I'd be eating pineapple pizza right now and loving it. But I caught myself in time. Another cool story about Bob. So I actually recently, turns out he's putting that experience in his new book, which is awesome. He said, you mind if I, just want to show you what I'm going to put in my book. And I said, Bob, if you can make me almost want to have pineapple pizza, could you make me not want potatoes so much? And he said, let's find out. And guys, I've been on basically a carnivore diet for a week now, just from like a 45-minute conversation with him. With that, I never really bought into that conversational hypnosis stuff, but holy cow, strong. Shawn, what's been your experience with hypnosis?
For me, it's I tend to be very logical, and it's very easy for me to discard what's going on around me and focus on something completely different. So I don't necessarily hit trance as easily as everybody else. For me, what I do try to do every night is work myself backwards into sleep, so that I have that nice kind of dip down into sleep. Doesn't always work. I still go to sleep anyway. Every people that know me, they'll say, "How is it that you're able to fall asleep in less than 5 minutes?" Well, it's pretty easy. Wow. Yeah.
Just ask anybody who's been in the military, especially a combat arms unit.
How about you, Brian? What's it like? Go ahead, Shawn.
No, I was going to say, Cub Scouts, they probably taught us the same thing.
What's been your experience like with it?
So my first experience was with Shawn at the night that you and I met at that event, and I'm kind of like, yeah, let me try it. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Let me back up. My first experience was I reached out to a hypnotherapist that I'm pretty sure that she smoked her breakfast. Patchouli oil and beads and this and she I was like, all right, I want to actually do like some therapy stuff. And so we sit and we chat and here's paying the money up front and everything. And so I'm like, she's like, all right, sit back. And I'm probably like as ADD as they come. And so she's sitting there going, well, just pick a place. I'm kind of like, okay. And then imagine, here's another realm of opportunities to think about. So I'm sitting there going like, God, I'm still on like, which place do I want to pick? Do I like the ocean? Do I like the mountains? Am I skiing? Am I snowboarding? Or surfing? Whatever. And then she's 3 steps ahead, and I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, hold on. And then she just starts droning on and on. And at this, and she is, I kind of just cracked an eye and sort of looked over her, and she is, Apu from, The Simpsons, just let their head, that piece of it. She is trance the hell out. I'm counting holes in the ceiling, and I'm just becoming more and more just like pissed. And then I think it was Shawn, that was kind of my first experience. And then my next one was, Jim's being an asshole and laying me down in the middle of the street in front of University of Washington in the U District, where all the bars are, where somebody may have urinated like on the corner 10 feet from my head as recently as that morning. And I remember just thinking to myself, you're like, and I'm laying you down. And I just remember giggling uncontrollably, and like, to add insult to injury, to make sure I don't go anywhere. Oh, you got super glue on your back. You're not getting up. And I'm just kind of like, thanks. This is how the friendship starts. Oh, okay. Brian, I really want to work with you with some of your, veteran stuff. And I'm like, what a bait and switch. Jim needs to go sell used cars. But that has just turned into a unbelievably awesome friendship. And
I agree.
I've had a lot of just the first time that we actually worked together, as far as like the therapy stuff, it was, all I remember was 97, deeper, relaxed. And then I think sleep apnea just woke me up like 45 minutes later, and I called you back. I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. You're like, dude, you were just, and I'm just wrapping up your recordings. You can listen to it in a little bit. Like, so it's I think the most common responses that I get to the questions that when I ask people what they experience is, I'm floating on a cloud. I feel like I've been asleep for a week and a half, best nap ever. Or it's like a combination of, I was awake the whole time. I understood everything that you said, but I was really relaxed, and I heard every word that came out of your mouth, but I have no memory of, I couldn't tell you what you said. All very positive though.
Yeah, and I just want to point out, so number one, for the hypnotists out there watching, please drop your link down below. If somebody wants to contact them, please, we've got a lot of awesome hypnotists, watching this. So I want to reiterate this. I feel like I say it every show. But like the passive or the progressive relaxation, take people on a trip down to the beach or through the forest is not the best induction for everyone. You got to tailor that to the person. And people with ADHD, they don't like that induction. So don't do it.
And it's also like, imagine if you went to it. And here's how I kind of make sense of it is, imagine if you went to your doctor and they were like, imagine all the medications that you can take. Which one would you like to try? And you're like, I'm here because you're the professional. You suffered through medical school and you went 6 figures into debt. You're not quite the attorney where you developed a drinking problem, but if you're doing therapy or even any sort of comedy and stage thing, and Jesse, weigh in on this if I'm on point, is they're coming to you for direction. You're running the show. Mm-hmm. You're telling them what to do, and you have to basically go, you are sinking back into a memory foam mattress that's 6 feet deep. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. I can do that. I can follow directions. And it also is in lines with how I explain things. They go, well, what's it like? And I'll just reach out and go, hold your hand up like this. Cool. Grab their hand and I'll walk them around in 10 steps. And I go, you follow directions, you relax, you consented to me touching you, you listened to what I had to say. We went on a little trip. We came back, brought you in one piece, and it was, not horrible, right? Okay, cool. If you can do all of that and just follow directions and relax and have a good time, it's going to be a great experience for you.
I absolutely agree. The thing about doing shows is that as the stage hypnotist, no one else in that entire audience knows what the heck is going to go on at all. So if you need to add 3 minutes to your induction, you add 3 minutes to your induction. If you do the light and heavy hand test and you see them going, you yank on that hand, you say sleep, and you're on with the show. No one knows what's happening at any given time during the show other than the hypnotist. And that's the beauty of it, is you can just wing it half the time. Well, not half the time, unless you're really skilled, but you can go off in a tangent if you need to.
So Scott King brings up a I think a salient point, but also some humor. He says hypnosis is a medicine that's at least 20 years old that has not had a class action lawsuit filed against it. So the hypnotists themselves for doing something stupid, right. Your mileage may vary, but it's I've been actually went to go get a new motorcycle helmet the other day, and I just got to talking. I mentioned something like, hey, I got to get back. We're going to be doing a hypnosis broadcast or whatever. And all of a sudden the lady sales clerk is, younger woman, perks up and she's like, okay, tell me more. I've got this and this and some PTSD. I'm like, all right, here's my contact information. Here's how to get a hold of me. Get in touch. I'm going to be doing some, recordings and things like that. In the spirit of Jim working with me, I wanted the ability to pay it forward. And it's like some people, they, you throw it out there and it's like moths to a flame, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Sherry Davis is watching, a fabulous hypnotist down in Oregon. And I got to tell you too, she can accept insurance. She's figured out the way to do that. So,
Scott's hilarious. He goes, sometimes even the hypnotist doesn't know what's going on.
Yes, exactly.
And there is some inherent truth to that.
And also, Sherry, you need to come up for the Pacific Northwest Hypnosis Conference in June. Shawn, can you find the link for that? Drop that in the comments. Also, Performing Hypnosis Summit. That won't be for Sherry, but for other people, if you can. We'd love to see you up there, Sherry. So, Jesse, what do you have tell us about your most interesting experience that you can think of just offhand doing stage hypnosis?
Nipawa, Manitoba.
Oh, this is going to be a good one because he was like, I came with this in my back pocket.
That's right.
That's typically what we say about Manitoba and Saskatchewan. So they can say that.
Like, so I was doing a show at the Legion Hall out there, and I only had 3 volunteers come up. There's only 20 people in the audience. Whatever, you do a show, but at the end of my show, I do a skit called Dreams Coming True. And basically, they have a coloring book. At the time, it was actually a TV. They imagine a TV in their mind. And someone comes through on that TV to tell them that they can achieve any goal, dream, desire that they want, blah, blah, blah. It's a closing skit, right? Which gives them the opportunity then to figure out what they actually want in life.
What a cool
this
thing.
gentleman, I thought he was starting to have an abreaction while he was up there on stage. So the scene fades and you tend to your breathing. He continues to sit there and he's just bawling. And he's crying and crying and crying. And I go into therapy mode because I am trained in therapy. And I'm working with him. And he says, I just need a few minutes. So I say, okay, we're going to give you that time. And when you're ready, just nod your head and we'll move on from this experience. I bring him out at the very end of the show. And he tells me, Jesse, thank you for that. That's the first time I've ever gotten closure for this issue in my life. I saw my mom. She passed about 3 years ago. And she sent me a message of where I should be moving on to. Now,
oh, dude,
I don't believe in paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
But
until then,
I'm getting goddamn goosebumps telling you this.
Right. Me too.
And the thing is, he told me after the show, I've been doing drugs. I've been doing these things in my life. And I just haven't been able to move past mom going. And like, holy shit. When we think about that, what power do we have to change people? And I don't even think I did it. I just gave him permission to change himself, which is, I think, what most of hypnotherapy is. Giving people that little kick in the butt that they need to say, I give myself permission to be the person that I can be. And yeah. Sorry for droning on. I apologize.
No. That's solid.
Amazing. That was a great story. That's, I mean, wow.
we've got another comedian joining us, Silas Lindenstein. He was asking if we haven't heard from him in a hot minute, but he's asking, do hypnotists have an aversion to hair? And I absolutely do not, if you can see that. But
I could show him, but he doesn't want to see it.
I was just going to say, just because it's not up here doesn't mean it hasn't migrated elsewhere.
I got plenty of hair. Plenty of hair.
There are no cold toilet seats in these guys' houses.
Thick like a male pig.
But Becca has a... Silas says, "Oh crap! I didn't know this was live." Well, now you do. So memorialized, and it was fun for us.
Hey, drop a link. Drop a link. Silas is a real estate agent here in the Seattle area. He can also hook you up. Also, check out his pod. Drop a link, Silas, to your podcast, because he did a podcast called "You're Buying a Home," and it's really awesome. He did 8 episodes, and I listened to it, and it's really well done. Go ahead.
Yeah, Becca's got a. I think this is an excellent kind of segue. Jesse, what's the funniest memory that you have from a show that you've done? I know that we've got memories of Jim doing his lost your penis routine. That kills. It's awesome.
So I've only done a couple dirty shows in my entire career. I've always been a super clean guy. But I was up in Archibald, Saskatchewan, and tiny little bar there. And one of my friends got hypnotized. She was with me, and her sister and her brother got hypnotized too. And I got them to imagine that their chair was a fantasy animal. And she imagined that the story that never ends, the animal at the end of that. It's a big white thing anyway.
The never ending story.
Yeah, that guy.
Uh-huh.
And I transitioned from the
chair, like the dragon dog or whatever.
Yeah, it's some kind of weird dog thing.
Yeah,
but I transitioned from the chair being the animal to now you're also the same species and you're going to make love to that thing. And I do very few dirty shows. Very, very few over the last 17 years. I think that's probably one of 3. And
I can just picture the guy just grabbing the chair. Just
that is exactly. There was 5 people up there doing stupid things to chairs. Clean enough, mind you. All clothes kept on and everything.
Yeah,
but that's probably the funniest thing I've done. Other than that, after doing 17 years worth of shows, I can't pick them out anymore. They're gone. It's just too many. And my show has evolved over the years from 5 basic skits to now I do things like drag racing a unicorn during my show. And when you've got 20 people up on stage,
that sounds like a garage band in Seattle.
So, yeah. And Janaea is asking now, what's my most chaotic hypnosis show? There really hasn't been one.
I would interpret when Janaea is asking what was your worst or most chaotic hypnosis show. I would interpret that as, not where like everything fell apart and it was like this catastrophic thing, but where's a time where someone may have either had an abreaction or they just responded in a way that was unexpected. And you're kind of like, oh God, this kind of went sideways fast. How do I pivot to salvage this? Because those things do happen.
I've never really had a show where that has been an issue. And I think it's because I'm a stickler for where people are on stage too, or in the performance area. I make sure that my safety procedures are followed. And if I have somebody up there that I don't agree with having up there, I'm ruthless. I cut them. I don't care if I'm left with 2 people up on stage for an hour-long show. I'll still do an hour-long show with 2 people.
Because the check has already been paid. and that's a lot. That's a lot better than getting a lawsuit.
Well, yeah, and it's just a safety thing, right? And I think in the world that we live in, you guys are in the States, so it's even worse down there. But we live in a very litigious. That's
litigious,
yeah. Lawsuits everywhere, right? So we need to take care of ourselves when we're up there. It's as simple as that. And by taking care of ourselves, we're also taking care of our clients, which is super important, right? You don't want a venue to get sued either.
And then you're also kind of preserving the integrity of the craft. I mean, I'm not 100% how Canada is, but in the United States, I mean, anybody can sue anybody at any time for anything. Doesn't mean that it's going to go anywhere, but you're still at minimum going to have those initial costs to defend. And if you sit out there and be like, oh, someone did like the whole full body catalepsy human bridge thing, and then all of a sudden, we kind of broke somebody's tailbone, and nobody gonna want to get up on stage, and now you've just cut a good chunk of the market away, and you've turned people away from a very, very useful tool.
Right.
And then Janaea's asking again. Janaea, you got some awesome questions today.
Yeah.
This is, I'm loving this. Have you ever had dreams about hypnosis?
Many, many times, and every type. Follow that past from being worried that I'm naked on stage performing to having scripts run through my head for therapy and just sitting there being very lucid and actually doing therapy in my dreams to performing shows in my dreams. It's literally everything. Some of my show stuff actually comes from that. The whole unicorn drag race, that's from a dream I had. So
wow.
It threw it.
I want to party with you, Jesse.
That's one of those 4 plants that he has there.
They're over there.
That's introducing my new strain as my side hustle, but
here's the truth about that. The strain doesn't matter. It's how much of the strain you have in you. That's what matters.
Okay, fair play there. All right, so Becca is going to start World War III. She says, Jim, we know you don't like pineapple pizza, but have you heard of cheese and pineapple sticks? We do over here in the United Kingdom. I'm like, you leave that stuff where it's at.
Is that like a shish kebab?
Yeah, it sounds like a shish kebab. So, Jesse, what is your take on pineapple pizza?
There's only one suitable. Cheese and pepperoni are the only 2 suitable toppings for a pizza. Period.
Oh. I'm gonna go with crumbled like breakfast bacon.
Okay.
Cheese, pepperoni, little bacon on there.
I'm a little more liberal than Jesse, but I'm gonna accept that answer. I'm gonna accept that answer. Because
but I think pepperoni and cheese is kind of your baseline.
It really is.
You keep it simple, and you can't go wrong with that.
I've got 7 kids total, so
there you go.
4 of them are adopted. They're not all mine, but like, it is the easiest way to feed everybody. It's cheese and pepperoni pizza, and it feeds everybody. Nobody complains. Nobody's quite happy, but nobody complains either.
Yeah. Well,
you should mess with your your biological children and be like, these 4 are the ones that we chose to have. we're legally obligated to love you,
right?
but we handpick these other 4.
So Becca, I'll answer.
Follow me for more parenting advice, folks.
I'm going to answer your question. So number one, I do want to say, and I think a lot of us pineapple pizza haters, we actually like pineapple just fine. We just want it separate from our pizza because we don't want savory stuff with our pineapple. And I'll tell you, so on another thing, I'm actually working on some pineapple pizza merch. So stay tuned, everybody. Right after the Performing Hypnosis Summit, I'll be launching some fun stuff.
Just make sure you don't have anything with upside down pineapple on it, Joe.
Yeah. I've ordered 1,000 of them though, Brian.
Might get some questionable looks, especially if you're in Vegas again.
But I'm going to pass on the pineapple and cheese. I'm going to pass on that. Shawn, what's your take? Pineapple and cheese?
No.
Good man. Brian, pineapple and cheese?
Absolutely not. And besides that, and I've said this before, nobody puts pineapple on bread. Why would you put it on pizza?
Exactly. Why would you do that?
The Hawaiian pizza with the sliced ham and the pineapple, I can do it, but only if I remove the pineapple chunks first.
Oh, but it doesn't matter because it's still contaminated with the damn pineapple juice.
Yep.
Yeah, but then again, I'm kind of like, if I'm hungry, it's like, it's not a military MRE. It's
See, here's the thing: pineapple is very juicy, and when you bake the pizza, that juice never dissipates. It doesn't break down. It makes the dough just blah.
Yeah, and you can't do half and half because that pineapple will make its way.
It'll leak over. Yep.
I was going to say it's like the U.S.-Mexico border. Like it just doesn't care.
It's very porous.
and you don't want to put concertina wire on your pizza down the middle because that can get ugly fast.
So as I'll say from I'll quote one of my favorite movies. Pineapple pizza may taste like pumpkin pie, but I ain't going to eat the.
now, Scott King I saw him pop up where he says barbecue with some pineapple. I'm like, yes, if you've got some solid ribs,
that could work. That could work.
There's a Caribbean restaurant local here, Jim. I'm going to take you to. They've got these ribs with, it's like a pineapple glaze, almost like an applesauce type stuff on there. Oh, buddy, that is good. But that is not pizza.
Yeah,
it's meat.
Yeah,
carnivore stuff.
And Silas, don't throw out this pineapple burger because none of us are going to eat that either because there's bread involved. Come on, man, get with the picture, get with the show here. Some of these people, they're just so crazy. So Carol was going to say about the same, served with cottage cheese, whatever.
Janae was saying maybe there should be hypnosis to make us hate pineapple on pizza. All right. Okay. I read that wrong. You are absolved.
Jesse, so this is interesting. So it sounds to me like you read the book, you went and did some shows, and then at some point you said, I want to learn more about hypnosis. So you took some therapy stuff.
I took quite a bit of therapist stuff. I took HMI when they were still, I think they're still around. The Hypnosis Motivation.
Yeah.
I took their foundations course, and then I did a couple upgrades from that just to work more hypnotherapy. Over the years, I've taken a whack of it. I've never put it to use, though, because I've always found that shows are more fulfilling to me. Helping people's nice, and I'm not mean, but I'm very direct. And I feel that everyone has the tools to change. And if they're not willing to change, then there's nothing I can do about it, which is why I never really got into therapy. I'm personally not willing to go on the journey of getting through certain things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It sounds really weird, but that's just not who I am.
No,
And
it totally makes sense, because I mean I've talked to some counselors and even some I think psychologists friends of mine, and I'm like, what's the most challenging part of your job? And they're like, dude, we have to go walk these paths of, sometimes it's just ancillary. It's like, oh, their husband won't put the toilet seat down and wet towels and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And then some people go into some really dark stuff, even and the people that work with veteran PTSD stuff. I mean, angels without wings, man. Some of the stuff that the guys see.
Yeah, can't imagine. Can you, Janaea, can you say, you said, why does that work? What were you referring to? I'm not sure.
I think she was saying that my best guess is maybe there should be hypnosis to make us hate pineapple on pizza. And then she says, why does that work? And I went, oh,
I don't think
it's what God wants. The Lord wants us to be happy.
I don't think any of us need that hypnosis. We just need to give it to the rest of these psychotics. So, Jesse, what haven't we asked you that you'd like to talk about?
so on the therapy side, the ones I always found really fulfilling was the people that had pain, people that had things like back pain.
Oh yeah.
And I found that they were easier to work with because they actually want to get rid of a pain and move towards pleasure, versus someone who smokes, who's theoretically getting pleasure from smoking and wants to get out of it, right?
Yeah.
So therapy really, it's super helpful for most people, but some hypnotists just do not fit the therapy mold at all.
Yeah.
And on that note, some hypnotists also don't fit the stage mold. Just because somebody's a good therapist doesn't mean they're going to be a good stage hypnotist.
No, not
in
at
fact,
all.
I could say that nothing is further from each other. Stage hypnosis compared to therapy is a completely different animal. Yeah, they're both named hypnosis.
Yeah.
But even the mechanisms we use on stage are different than what we use in the therapy room. They really are.
Yeah.
So, other than that, I have nothing else. I'm good. I'm an open book. I'll let your questions guide the way.
Well, I mean, you bring up a good point where some people are, have the mindset and personality to do therapy, and then other people for stage. And I'm kind of going to go on the lines of, kind of loosely referencing a friend of ours, Dan Hedrick. And he goes, I kind of got out of the stop smoking stuff because I just, and focus more on stage because I just got tired of listening. He goes, I lost my petulance for listening to people's bullshit, the excuses of why stuff wouldn't work or can't work.
Yeah.
And, it's like he goes, I finally had to get to the point where it's like, I'm searching people's cars going, all right, we're taking all of your cigarettes. And if you're going to throw a little bit of a shit fit, I'm keeping your money. And then you can go back and, schedule another appointment. But, you have to have people have some sort of skin in the game to want to make the change, rather than, hey, I'm just throwing stuff out. I'm going through the motions and, oh, woe is me. Well, here's another thing that didn't work. It's like, no, you need to have a level of commitment, and listening to the people who just, aren't committed can get real old real fast.
Yeah, and I'll say on the other hand, because I've become more selective over the years. There's a lot of times I'll just tell somebody, look, I don't think we're going to be a good fit, or I think I've got a colleague. I think actually usually what I'll say is I've got a colleague that I think might be a better fit for you. But when you do have those clients, because at first I worked with anybody and anywhere. But when you work with those clients that are really invested in it, it's such a fulfilling feeling. When you see the changes. It's I like both so much There's nothing like the high of doing a hypnosis show, though. I mean, really, you don't,
Dude.
even the best results from a client, it just doesn't compare to that. Just
Do you remember the first time you had me do a guest spot down at Laughs in Seattle? Like,
yeah.
I came off stage and like, because you like pulled me right out of the crowd, and the lady that I was on a date with was, kind of like, oh, this is sort of cool, and I'm like,
but that helped a lot.
We won't go there. And I just kind of slide back in when everything is done, and at the end of the show, like, you kind of do your run off stage kind of towards the back, and I remember just running up to you, just going like, dude, like, it is, the juice is flowing hard.
Yeah.
And speaking of juice, Janaea says barbecue and pineapple works, but not on pizza. And she's like, is this a double standard? And my response is, Janaea, diversity, equity, and inclusion does not apply to the culinary world. Our palates have boundaries, and we'd like those to be respected.
If you actually barbecue the pineapple, it will actually sweeten it, and it'll bring the sugars out, and then it tastes way better than if you ever get it out of a can.
When I have I have a confession too. I've had bacon wrapped pineapple.
It's all right, Jim. This is a safe place for you.
And it was fantastic. It really was. But I sure don't want it on my pizza. Shawn, you've been quiet tonight. Do you have any questions for Jesse? Do you have any comments you want to throw out there?
Well, I when I went to Hypnotize, that would be a couple of years ago because I missed last year. I was talking with a mutual friend of ours, Richard, and he had mentioned, well, do you know Jesse? Jesse who? So I had to go look. And then I found out just after that, I think the next year, you did a show in one of my schools. So for those of you that don't know, I'm one of the division level coordinators. So I go to a bunch of different schools. And all of a sudden, boom, they're having a show. And they didn't tell me about it, which was bad. So I chided the principal. I said, look, like, next time you have a show, at least tell me about it. I'd like to come in and see what's going on. And it turned out it was Jesse. So, it's one of those things. You just keep grinding, and shows come. And the school, if I recall correctly, be about 200 kids, give or take.
It was the high school in Yorkton, wasn't it?
No, Langenberg.
Oh, Langenberg, yeah. Who's my contact down there?
Mick.
Yeah, probably 200 kids.
Yeah.
Cool.
And those are nice size groups to work with. I mean, obviously you can't bring all the students up, but I
think I had 30. It was a big show.
Yeah, usually kids are like, you're just going to have a small stampede.
Yeah.
Rush the stage.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was probably the 5th time I've done that school. So every year it grows bigger too. And we were on the gym floor in there, so we could put whatever chairs we wanted. So
yeah. And that was the new school. That was the new build, right? So they have an absolutely beautiful school there that was just built 6-7 years ago now.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago.
Yeah.
So Janaea is our question. Like, Janaea just needs to be careful, Janaea. You're going to get a job. We're going to put you to work. You are coming up with some just absolutely amazing questions. Jesse, what do you have a favorite induction and deepener, and which techniques do you significantly dislike or kind of personally steer clear of?
So the answer is, I don't care about the induction. I don't care about the deepener, and techniques most of the time don't matter on stage. Now, that's something that most hypnotists will never say. There's only one other one that I know that says that. And my number one goal when I go on stage is to entertain people. And my own personal belief is that if anyone follows any suggestion whatsoever, they're already in hypnosis. It's presumed that they are there.
Jesse, Scott King, I absolutely love you, man. Says, Jim, you need to write a book about stage hypnosis. The title is "The Person I'm Touching Now."
Well, let's let Jesse finish, and we'll talk more about that.
So,
Oh God.
so I know it sounds counterintuitive, especially for new hypnotists or somebody coming from the therapy space where there's a set induction. You have to do specific things. The truth is, on stage, I'll walk up there and yeah, I might have something in my mind, but until it's happening, I got no flipping clue what's going on. Until I have the people in front of me doing specific things, following, could be anything from an eye lock to fingertips touching, which isn't even hypnosis, right? It could be any of those things. And once they follow one suggestion, past that, I don't care because they're going to follow almost every suggestion except for the people I intentionally call from the stage.
And if you just
Sounds
have
really
people
counterintuitive.
if you have people just even do the finger magnet thing, and then all of a sudden you're like, snap, okay, and your eyes are closed, and then it's like, open your eyes, and they are 1,000 miles away. I'm like, oh, you are gonna be good.
I did a school show up north of Saskatoon here, and I did the light and heavy hands, and that was my pretest to show people what it was. And it was a school group, and I had 40 kids on stage, and I said, okay, all you're going to do is you're not even going to open your eyes. All I'm going to do is say, sleep down. You're going to drop your head on your and your hands are going to pop down, and boom. It was literally 30 seconds, and I started the show with 40 people.
Nice.
So when I say the induction doesn't matter, it does. It's the ritual we're going through. It's the pre-talk we're going through. But if you don't have them hypnotized by the time they get on stage, by the time they actually sit down in those chairs, then you could be screwed.
Yeah.
It's about getting people there where they need to be before they even get up there. So
and Dan was describing, he goes, that's also your opportunity as a hypnotist to kind of gauge everybody. And he goes, really what you want is like the big cow that's got the big bell, and you get that cow to come, and everybody else is going to follow in line, monkey see, monkey do. And everybody kind of generally wants to fit in. And that's, if you can identify that one person to really just drive some energy, that's going to set the foundation. That's going to lay the foundation for your show.
Yeah, Jesse, I got to tell you, I guess there's 3 now, because I say the same thing. The induction, it matters, but it doesn't matter. Because and the reason I know that is because I've done shows. I use the Elman induction for most shows, and I have left out huge chunks of my induction accidentally, of course.
Jim, is the Elman, is that the one where you like pick a point on the wall and just kind of let your eyes get heavy and
then the eye lock? Yeah, you go.
Okay. Now I'm following.
And so and I'll be watching my video, and I'll go, holy crap! I forgot that whole big chunk, and guess what? They still got hypnotized. So I think there is, like I love the way you put it. It doesn't matter. It matters, but it doesn't matter. If you have enough things, if you do a good enough like pre-talk, monologue, however you want to call it, and you have enough stage presence and enough authority, some people, like I just did a show. I tell people too. One of the things I like to tell my students is, like if you're doing like some kind of a, what did I do? It was just buckets and balloons. And I said, sometimes just go out to somebody if they look like a really good responder and just go sleep. And it just works. And you go, holy cow. You can, like you said, you can literally you can get them into hypnosis 30 seconds.
And even if you just sit out there and, like me, the first time I was doing that, we were doing the hypnosis stuff in downtown Seattle. It was my first time. I didn't know what that.
Right.
I mean, exactly, obviously we covered the basics and some safety and everything like that, because, you want to do right by people. But as far as bits were going, I was just coming up with stuff to see what I could get away with.
Right.
Just keeping in the back of my mind, kind of like a magic show. Sometimes, you just, here's kind of like, you're always out. You're like, okay, if something doesn't hit, you could just be like, okay, hold on to that. We're going to try something else. And you never go back to that. Or you just go, ha, that would have been really hilarious if that worked, didn't it?
Exactly.
Add a little bit of humor, segue
Exactly.
into something else and not worry about it.
Guys, so we need to, our Canadian friends here it's up very late for them. So let's spend, if we could, spend the last 15 or 20 minutes here, the next 15, 20 minutes. Let's just do some hypnosis. Sorry we didn't get to answer everybody's questions, but we do need to move on because it's like somewhere around midnight for you fellas.
It's 11.
Quarter to 11.
But Jim,
All
they've
right.
got the laser lettuce up there.
The laser lettuce. So Jesse, do you want to start us off with something? I mean, you can just do some kind of hypnotic phenomena. You can do like a pre-test.
So absolutely. I will start off.
Cool.
Now,
before I do, hold on. The usual reminder, everybody, please do
no
not
operating heavy equipment. Stay out of the range of coffee tables and other solid furniture.
Yes. And
just
knives.
Get relaxed, get comfy.
Sit in a way where you're not gonna. If you do go deep in hypnosis, you're not gonna fall over. So no stools or anything. Sit on a bed, sit on a couch, and let's go.
So, Becca asked a question, and it's about pre-tests.
Yeah.
And I want to address this real quick.
Absolutely.
What other suggestibility tests are there? There is like 50 of them, and anything can be a pre-test.
And those are just the official ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I've actually got in my book, I think I have 30 of them just written down and the thing about that is there's several different arm locks. There's several different hand locks. The eyelid thing, there's several of those. There's ones that are hypnosis and ones that are complete bullshit that are not actually pre-tests, like the finger magnets is not actually a suggestibility test. I tell people that when I'm on stage is that if we're going to do this, guess what? You weren't actually hypnotized. It's all a bunch of bull because it acts as honesty. So yeah, there's a whack of them, Becca. So I'm going to bring up my list actually.
Awesome.
That was a great question I was going to hit on next. And Jim was like, hey, we got to wrap it up. And I was like, oh God, do I try to just push this one through? But well, it's late where you are and you brought it up. So I
wanted to just simply because there is so many of them, right? And I'm sorry, Jim, I didn't hijack.
No. I mean, you're the reason I wanted to wrap it up a little quicker. Also, I do want to say, Scott, thanks for the title. I am writing a book on street hypnosis. It's very close to done, but I probably won't go with that title.
You should. That's actually a good title.
It's got that. It's catchy, and then it also has the kind of the play on words. That's kind of a pun, and I think that just in and of itself, we have T-shirts out here in the Seattle area that says, "I ride the South Lake Union trolley," and there's an acronym. If you smell what I'm stepping in, and those they cannot keep in stock. So I think that's an awesome title, and Scott may need co-author credit on that.
That's awesome. Okay, so I actually have one that's actually ready. I'm sorry, I went for my list. This is one that's not seen very often. Actually, it's the magnetic hands. I haven't seen a hypnotist do this for a long time, and it's on along the same lines as this, but it's actually with your hands out like this. So all you do is you put your hands out like this, and you take a nice deep breath in, and you close your eyes down, and you just imagine that your hands are actually two magnets, and they're getting stronger and stronger with each and every single breath you take. The more you resist, the stronger they're going to get. As I count upwards from 1, they get stronger than that. 2, getting stronger and stronger, doubling in strength with every single breath you take. The more you resist, the tighter they get. 3, getting tighter and tighter, more and more, stronger as those magnets get tripled, quadrupled, infinite. And open your eyes and look at your hands.
Wow.
And now, is this actual hypnosis? By my definition, absolutely. A person followed suggestions. If you're in the audience watching this, if you're in therapy, this is actually super helpful. And Jim, do you know whether this is a real one or not?
I don't know. I mean, I think that if it's not, by the time they go inside and start making this and start feeling that, I think absolutely you're going to develop trance. Yeah.
Yeah. When I use it on stage, it's pretty effective.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's used as part of the pre-talk. So I don't ever really use it on stage, or I don't do street hypnosis. Just simply, it's not something I've ever done. Do you guys do that in the street? Do you do that as a pre-test in the street?
I don't know that we've ever. I've never done that one on the street. No.
Similar type stuff. It's
similar, yeah.
I mean, people are seeing the same bit over and over. They're just kind of like, all right, we know this is coming.
So I actually have a question for you guys. In the street, do you guys lay out the first 2 or 3 things of what you're doing? For instance, I'm assuming you do like a finger magnets, then maybe light and heavy hands, then maybe a stuck leg. Is that how it works? Or
are you when you say lay it out, like tell them, hey, we're going to do this, and then this, or
no?
Do we have a set
personal plan?
I'd say sometimes I have a plan in mind. Sometimes I just kind of go with what feels good at the moment.
Okay.
I think Brian is really good at coming up with unique stuff right on the spot. My friend Shawn Summers, who we often go out with, he's very much got a bunch of stuff memorized.
Shawn is the master of patter.
Yeah, he really focuses on remembering things, or memorizing.
Yeah. Huh.
It doesn't even sound memorized. It sounds like he is.
But he is. Yeah.
If you combine freestyle rap with hypnosis pattern, that is Shawn to a T.
Yeah, really.
We were at you had what was your thing at Nile in January? Forgive me, my last 3 weeks are just.
I know, dude.
A blur,
so we had the local NGH. We put on an event, and Shawn did the Comedy Hypnosis show for that.
Yeah, I was just talking to him, just going like, dude, your ability to do patter, and of course, Shawn being super, just humble is like, oh well, yeah, I'm not that good. I'm like, dude, you are. And
so how about you, Jesse? Do you have a set routine that you go through? No, you don't. You don't do it. That's right. Never mind.
Yeah. On stage, I have my normal show, right? Once we get to that point, once people are hypnotized, I follow the same pattern for almost every show now. But the actual hypnosis part is new every time. I almost always do. Aha. Yes. So that's another thing. The uncontrollable laughter thing.
Oh yeah.
I use that in my induction sometimes. It's not even part of.
You could just even use that with pissed off kids. You're like, all right, don't smile. Don't smile. Don't you laugh. Nope. And then they just.
Yeah. And during the induction, for instance, we talked about how you use the element induction. So Jeff Ronning, when I learned my inductions, he had a thing called the EKG. And he had this part where you do a hand lift and then you drop it back down in their lap, basically like a wet piece of spaghetti. And instead of doing that, I asked them to imagine something funny that's happened in their life in the last day or two. And I'm not sure who's the first person going to be to laugh, but it will happen. And eventually it becomes like infectious, right? It spreads between everybody because one person laughs. On stage, using that as part of the induction gets rid of. Sometimes inductions can become boring. They can become very monotonous very quickly, right? Because you're just counting up, counting down, blah, 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 all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you throw them doing something into the induction versus them just breathing and relaxing, if you throw an actual skit in the middle of that induction, which sounds really weird, but it's doable.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It can actually help them go into hypnosis much faster. It's kind of, it's basically proof that it's working. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you're already getting the audience laughing instead of making them wait all that time for the induction to happen when now you all can laugh, right? That's awesome.
And I don't know if you guys have ever had that one nervous person, they come on stage and they can't stop laughing anyway.
Oh yeah.
So this is a way to cut that nervous person out and allow them to have their freedom for a minute or two without throwing them into the audience.
It's almost like letting them get it out of their system.
Yeah.
And then they go, okay, I'm up here. People are laughing with me. I've instead of feeling self-conscious or embarrassed or anything like that, they're like, okay, somebody did kind of like a bit with me. I made people laugh. I got that. And it's like, this isn't so scary anymore. And then you're letting them, that may be just a simple little change in their life that boosts their confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What else you got, Jesse?
Well, what other pretests would you like to have? We have so many. Actually, I want to show one that isn't actually hypnosis. I want to show how one of them can be cheated. Is that fair?
Yes. Oh, and I also want to just say out there, so if you did the magnetic hands, well, number one, I want to know how many of you actually felt like there was some force there. I actually felt like there was a little bit of a force there. It was a weird feeling. How many felt that? And then, what was that experience like for you? So yeah, go ahead.
So I'm going to do two, actually. I'm going to explain how this works. Okay. So your magnetic fingers, if your palms are actually squeezed together, it's impossible for them not to come back together. That is the whole trick of it. If you squeeze those palms together, you tell your people to squeeze those palms together and don't have elbows like that. They have to be down here. It's actually impossible for them not to come back together. It's just your muscles doing what they're supposed to do. So if you're on stage or for the lay audience, I'm giving it away. I'm sorry. But that literally works. That's how it works, is your palms are together. And if you squeeze at the bottom, it works even better. The second one is there's this lock where you can do this and push out like that. So go ahead if you want to. And you may or may not come apart, but I want you to focus your attention, look at the back of your hands, and I want you to push really, really hard. And then I want you to pull your hands apart as hard as you can. And go ahead and try. Go ahead and try. As you push, try to pull them away. It's impossible to actually pull them apart.
Wow. Yeah.
It takes a lot of force.
Yeah.
Now, this is a hypno trick that can be done. And it's basically a hand lock. If you're pushing out and pulling at the same time, it's impossible to actually get them apart for most people. There's another way to do it where you actually push out like that and then go above your head. And it makes it even harder to do. And it's a hypno trick. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So as long as you're pushing, and if you're doing that in the street or even on stage, and they're pushing, and you get them to focus on the back of those hands, there is that moment where they go, "Holy shit!" And that's the moment where you give them a quick doop, and they go out right away. So
wow.
So when we're doing hypnosis, it doesn't necessarily have to be hypnosis that puts them in hypnosis, if that makes any sense. It has to be that bypass of the critical factor and acceptable thinking, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then if you give them that little jolt, don't hit them, but you give them that jolt, they will go into hypnosis with that instant induction, and it works really well. Actually, on stage, I do that sometimes just as an opener. I'll put somebody down quickly, so it bypasses everybody else's critical factor, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So yeah.
And then, Jesse, in your explanation at all, do you make any reference to like the OODA loop? Are you familiar? They call it the OODA loop. So OODA. So think of a clock. 12 o'clock is O, 3 o'clock is O, 6 o'clock is D, 9 o'clock is A.
Okay.
So you observe, you orient, you make a decision, and then you take action. So if you can short circuit any of those of like, hey, I'm observing something, and then all of a sudden, bang, right as you're observing something, you orient, hammer, right to act, you take out that decision thing. That's right where you drop somebody, because there is no decision. It's just act. Okay, cool. Sleep. You're out.
Yeah. So The answer is I use it. I didn't know it had a technical definition
Mhm.
of what it actually was. I have heard it before, but I have never put it in that frame. But yes, absolutely. Almost any instant induction has to be that, right? So, yeah.
I love Scott's comment. He says, "What do you mean? You mean don't hit them?" He goes, "The right-handed slap is one of my favorite inductions." Sleep.
Actually, Becca had a question earlier. I think maybe
Janaea had one.
Yes. So amnesia, absolutely, it could be used as a pretest 100%. Once you have amnesia, generally you're actually in hypnosis by that point.
Pretty
Whether
deep
clinical,
too, I think.
yeah. You could theoretically use it as a pretest because, in my view, every aspect of hypnosis, this is just me, is available at any given time if you are assuming it is, if that makes any sense. It's a weird thing, but
I talk about that too. Like we tend to separate these things. We think, like, well, this is my pretest and this is my induction, but you can put a couple of pretests together, a couple of hypnotic phenomena things together, and you've got an induction. So it doesn't have to be this formal thing that somebody writes out. I remember watching, and speaking of the amnesia, I saw Flip Orley's show years ago. And I was blown away because his very first skit is "You forgot your name," and I was like, "Oh my god!" And it was like, man, what if it doesn't work? But here's the thing: well, he was in a big club, so he had like 30 volunteers. He can lose a few, and if they're forgetting their name, you've got some really good subjects.
Yeah, I remember I was on stage with you, and I kind of seen this thing before. But it was like, hey, I'm going to take my invisible ball of sleep and just right across and again, this was another thing of I'm going to throw it against the wall, see what sticks, and if it doesn't work, you go back to that would have been really cool if it worked. Get people to laugh. So Becca, here's for you your big invisible ball of sleep over in the UK from Great America to you. Here it comes. 1, 2, 3, and sleep.
Nice. That seems like a pretty good place to wrap this up, unless we need to wake up Becca.
Yeah, Becca, you can come back to us now. Wide awake, feeling absolutely wonderful and amazing.
Jesse, it's been a pleasure meeting you. Great talking to you. Again, you know what? I feel like, we could just chat all night long. But as everybody knows, I have a very uncomfortable chair. So about 90 minutes is about my end. So please tune in next time. I believe we will have a hypnotherapist on.
Jim, we have a Masonic brother who happens to be a chiropractor.
That's
true. Me how I know.
So please tune in. It's what we're doing now is the second and fourth Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. Please reach out to Jesse. Get that book. So if you want to get his book, it's
just email me.
Hypnosis Mastery, right?
Mastering Stage Hypnosis.
Mastering Stage Hypnosis. Just shoot him an email, and you can buy it through him. It's the best way to get it. He'll send you the PDF, and you can read that. He's obviously got a lot of experience, and really fantastic. Jesse, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Awesome, man. Great information, and it's been a pleasure. And absolutely. Shawn, as always, man.
It's all good.
So remember, next time, so second Friday of February, we will have a hypnotherapist. We'll run through probably a 15, 20-minute hypnosis session on there. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think we're just going to have almost a recap of storytelling and, maybe some things that didn't stay in Vegas.
Oh, yes, we have that. That'll be, we should just do a special episode on Vegas.
I think so too. I mean, that would be, because we're going to have stories and everything else. Maybe
we'll do that. That's a great idea, Brian. So what we'll do is we will do story time with the Performing Hypnosis Summit. And we, the three of us, will do a hypnosis session for you all. So, Shawn, thanks so much. Brian, Jesse, all the watchers out there, please do like, subscribe, share, all the good stuff. Take care, be well, be awesome.